All right, welcome to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. It is Wednesday, October the 15th. The month is just clipping by, Kathleen. It is going to be over before you know it, and then we're on to November, and then December, and then the letdown that is January.
There is kind of a letdown in January. You've had all these, celebrations, holidays, and then I'm with you.
Yeah. January is you're out of holidays that are fun. I mean, New Year's Day can be fun, and then it's kind of you're starting to get to the end of it, and then it dawns on you that your taxes will be due soon.
True.
And it's still cold outside.
Yeah,
You make that face that I just made.
Well, and it's extra for me because my birthday is also in between Christmas and New Year's, so I have all these celebrations, and then nothing.
And then just the crushing grayness that is our day-to-day lives in January in Central Florida.
It's not that bad.
I guess so. David, you're always a ray of sunshine in my otherwise dour moods, especially when this is a great way to welcome viewers in, is to be like, everything's terrible. It's cold. It's gray outside. But please, thank you for watching.
I think it's pretty solid outside.
It's I gotta tell you, I was chatting with Candace yesterday about the forecast, and she's like, this is like the most boring stretch. There's nothing going on. And I'm like, you'll fill the time. She's like, of course I will. And I was like, well, that's the gift of being a great meteorologist, as you are, as she is that, even when it's 7 days of not a whole lot, we can still make something out of it.
Exactly, big time. You could try to just say the same thing over and over again, but find 7 to 10 different ways of saying the same thing over and over again. But I can go ahead and tell you all that the weather story really isn't changing all that much. Let's show you the headline. So we still have some cool mornings ahead, mild afternoons as we kind of begin a bit of a subtle warming stretch over the next 7 days. There is going to be a slight uptick in our rain chances as we go through Sunday and Monday into next week. And because of how calm, cool, and collected the weather here is in Central Florida, I still have my eyes on the tropics, which we'll get to here momentarily. Now, I want to show you something on the radar that I find very interesting. Believe it or not, it looks like we actually have some very light rain out there in portions of Seminole, Orange, and Brevard County. I kind of want to go outside and verify if the radar isn't doing something funky, picking up on some other kind of phenomena, because when you come over to your water vapor imagery, it looks like we have way too much dense, dry air overhead to really provide us with any kind of rainfall. There's not an ounce of moisture out there. So I might poke my head outside here shortly after the show to go verify if there's any rain out there, let alone any cloud cover. You can see here when we turn over to our winds, we're still getting that northerly component across the state. Kind of breezy out there too, helping to keep temperatures feeling a bit more on the cooler side, especially since we have that dry air in place, preventing a lot of that moisture from marinating with us here in Central Florida. Temperatures outside right now, which also, if you notice that little bubble near Sanford, Oviedo, and Titusville, we do have some cooler temps. The difference between DeLand and Sanford, about 6 degrees, so maybe there is some rain falling out there. And when you look at the difference between where we were yesterday compared to where we are now, a 24-hour change, we are actually generally cooler outside across the area in comparison to yesterday. So despite the fact that we are going to be warming up as we get closer to the weekend, our highs are only going to top out in the low to mid 80s, which is great news. And I think a lot of it has to come with that densest layer of dry air sitting overhead with us right now. That's probably why our temperatures feel a lot better than they do. As you go through time, though, notice into the weekend and especially Sunday, Monday with the arrival of that next feature, that's when our temperatures do start to climb towards the upper 80s in response to the approaching cold front that'll be working through the Great Plains. But for planning your day today, a little warming trend, but not a lot of rain, if any, out there in terms for all of us here in Central Florida, at least 95% of us, I should say. Now, looking at the upper air setup, I want to notice, or I want you to notice a couple things. We got a wicked trough that's spinning through the plains across the Appalachians. And if you notice as we go through Sunday and Monday, look at how the colors begin to shift from the drier colors of the light blues, the darker grays and browns, into the more vibrant tropical colors. That's an indication that we're going to start to see the nose of that trough working its way in, trying to drag some Caribbean tropical moisture in from the south, kind of magnetize it and pull it into the Florida Peninsula, which is why our rain chances are going up. And I wrote a story yesterday for you all here on Click Orlando talking about how not only are we into the Halloween spooky season, the fall season, still in hurricane season, but severe weather season is already on the up and up for our neighbors to our northwest through Dixie Alley, the Deep South, and Tornado Alley. Now, Tropical Storm Lorenzo is falling apart. We're getting ready to see its last advisory here momentarily and still watching that tropical wave highlighted in the yellow circle. When I show you the latest advisory as of 11 o'clock, Lorenzo is falling apart. And then watch this. This is funny. There's the forecast cone for that bad boy, looking to end itself later tonight, falling apart. We probably can't even really track the actual spin with it, especially when you look at satellite. It's hard to find the storm as it is, possibly by 2 o'clock, if not at 8 o'clock. As you can see here, we're going to see that final advisory. Yesterday, this kind of took social media by storm. Climate Prediction Center is bullseyeing the area we've been watching for possible tropical formation, getting closer to Halloween. The dates at the top between October 22nd to October 28th. They've given us a bit of an elevated chance that we see some development out there, and it does ebb and flow really well with our models. When you take a look at the European probabilities, lovely color-coded graphic, notice we are still kind of on the up and up, bottoming out at about a 50-ish% chance that a tropical depression could be due south of Florida in the central southern Caribbean by next Saturday. So we've got a lot of time to continue to dissect what model data throws at us. And when you look at where we are in the season so far, we kind of rapidly went through Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo out there in the tropics. Next name on the list will be Melissa, and we'll be tracking it every step of the way to see what the chances are we see Melissa spawn in to our south, and then where it goes from there. It certainly has my attention, and I'd like all of us here in Central Florida and our neighbors to at least keep one eye on it just to be safe. But we'll close out looking at your 7-day forecast. Not a lot has changed here. You can see mostly clear skies with some partly cloudy conditions as we go through the afternoon. 20% chance of rain for Sunday and Monday, but notice the beautiful sight of mid-60s to start the day off and barely getting into the mid-80s during the warmest parts of the afternoon.
So something that people may not know, you and I share a common wall. Where your weather office is in my office, and I get to listen in the morning as you are on doing your weather thing and dispelling. I could hear oftentimes it sounds like you're trying to be that firm voice of reason to the people out there who see like a little something happening off the coast of Africa, or ooh, there might be development here, and it's like, people, calm down. All right. Just it's one thing. It's like it's not. It hasn't formed. It's not the death storm coming to kill us all. Relax.
Exactly. You got it. You got it. We just got to keep an eye on it. That's the best we can do.
Well, and I think there's this. We're this far into the season. It's kind of like a horror film when you're like, it's too quiet. You know.
Yeah.
You start to kind of feel like we can't be this deep into hurricane season, and we haven't even really had a glancing blow. Like we've had a couple that look like they might kind of, and then they get like to the middle Atlantic and they're like, we're done. And that's it.
Exactly. So no reason to take our foot off the throttle just yet. October has definitely thrown some curveballs at us in seasons of past. So let's just keep the microscope on and where it needs to belong, especially down in the Caribbean.
Get us through the rest of the month, get us to Thanksgiving, and we'll give you some much deserved time off.
There we go. I'd love to hear it.
Maybe. All right. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Back here at home, one of the things that we're keeping an eye on today is bomb threats called into about 40 school districts across the state of Florida, up to and including Sumter, Seminole, Marion, and Brevard, all of them getting this email threat. Now, the districts we've talked to have said they don't believe the threat is credible, but they are still taking precautions, working with local law enforcement to step up patrols, step up presence, really more than anything there. The FBI is also investigating this threat. You may remember a couple of weeks ago, it was in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, an email threat went out to a lot of HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities across the United States, warning of a similar incident possibly going to happen there. We also had one of those come in at the University of Central Florida with several of my students finding out about it and deciding not to come to class that day and saying they just, they were concerned. And it's listen, we're in a world where bad things are happening, where we have, we had Charlie Kirk assassinated on a college campus. We've had how many school shootings this year? So, people taking these things seriously. UCF, as far as the one at the universities is concerned, said it didn't believe that the threat was credible, did not, close campus or cancel classes. But this is now the second time we've seen a mass threat emailed out to schools. A couple of weeks ago it was universities, but now K through 12 schools making some sort of threat and, really just trying to disrupt education and disrupt everyday life. But obviously the schools are taking this seriously, keeping an eye on it. But, again, the locally, Sumter, Seminole, Marion, and Brevard all received a threat, all stepping up security, but also saying that it's not believed to be credible. So from threats to moving, if you've ever had to move or have seen the fantastic Richard Pryor film about moving, it can be a bit of a hassle. And that's just that part of going through all of your stuff, boxing it up, getting it together, and then loading it up and then getting on. It can be even worse if the moving company you hire doesn't do what they're supposed to do or tries to charge you more. Erica Bergoglio, one of our investigative reporters, dug into this one moving company, some of its history, what happened to one local family, and what the state is now doing.
I was in tears.
A 35-mile move for Gail and Clarence Hairston cost them $3,600 more than they were quoted.
I said, that's holding our furniture hostage. He says, you can call it what you want. Yeah. You can't get it. We won't move. We won't bring you your furniture until this is paid.
The couple hired today's movers to help them move from Ocala to Leesburg. The initial quote they received, $1,100. The Hairstons paid more than $900 in deposits, but then on moving day, they were told to pay thousands more or their stuff would be locked up in storage.
So we had to get $36.22 and 56 cents in cash.
Yes, ma'am.
In 30 minutes. That was a gut punch.
Their daughter sent them the money, but once their items were unloaded at their new home, the Hairstons found their furniture scratched, a table leg broken, and their dishes shattered. Today's movers is part of Thompson Nation Holdings, LLC. Its address is listed as this office building along Silver Star Road in Orlando. When I went inside to speak with someone, the office was vacant. And according to this administrative complaint, it appears a state investigator found the same scene when he tried to hand-deliver documents in July. Hi, is this Thompson Nation Holdings, LLC? When I called the number listed for Thompson Nation Holdings, a man told me the company was shut down. So who am I speaking with on this number? He refused to say who he was, then hung up. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services has received nearly 200 complaints about Thompson Nation Holdings, as well as its 24 moving companies. This notice from the state says the business violated a slew of Florida statutes, including withholding goods even though the customer already paid.
If someone is in that situation, what do you recommend they do?
If you are in the state of Florida, you can contact the police. But there are laws that protect you as a consumer.
Holly Sammons is the CEO of the Better Business Bureau. If you are planning to move, Sammons recommends you get multiple quotes, verify the company's licensing information, and be on the lookout for red flags.
If you were asked or expected to estimate the move yourself, how they expect you to pay? Are they asking you to pay a large deposit up front? Are they wanting you to send that to them for a payment app or paying cash?
Thompson Nation Holdings is banned from moving any household goods in the state of Florida. The state also denied the company from renewing its license. And as for the Hairstons, they tell me they plan to go to small claims court to try to get that money back. We'll let you know what happens. Erica Bergoglio, News 6.
And you can count on Erica to stay on top of that. This is a company that, we have obviously covered in the past. And when it comes to moving, the advice there from Holly at the BBB is fantastic. Get multiple quotes, look for certain kind of red flags, especially, if one company's offering to move you for half of what everybody else is quoting you at, that's a red flag there. Also, too, moving is expensive and it is also regulated. In other words, the state is involved, and if you move across state lines, the federal government is involved. So these companies should all have track records you can find out about and licenses that you can verify. So a little bit of research on the front end could definitely save you some heartache on the back end. Okay, so from moving that didn't quite work out to government that's not quite working right now. Yesterday was day 14 of our government shutdown. Today we're in day 15 of the government shutdown. And if you're wondering, has the House of Representatives gone back into session to try and fix this? No. They're still on a bit of a vacation, a bit of a break for the House. So they're not there. The Senate's there. The Senate keeps taking up the House bill that was passed several weeks ago, which has already failed to pass, but they keep bringing it up and, hoping that they keep doing it over and over again. Eventually something will happen. And guess what? It's not. So you have the Senate in session with a House bill that they've already rejected. You have the House not in session. And of course, we're all waiting to find out what's going to happen. Caught in the middle of this is really just two different groups of people, those who rely on the federal government for paycheck and those who rely on the federal government for services. And those services are starting to now, one by one, go dark. And as far as the federal workers, the ones who aren't working, well, their paychecks are not coming in. And those who are being told they have to work, well, they're getting partial paychecks or maybe not paid at all. Now, the White House is trying to free up some money to pay the military, but eventually even that will run out. And we'll be at a point where we have people being told either you've got to go to work and not get paid, or you're not going to go to work and you're not going to get paid. It's an untenable situation. And as Caitlin Huey Burns from CBS reports, it ain't getting better.
The motion is not agreed to.
With Congress at a standstill, President Trump is threatening more targeted cuts.
We're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we were opposed to. So we're being, and they're never going to come back.
His comments came during a meeting with Argentinian President Javier Milei, whose country has been offered a $20 billion bailout by Trump. Critics slammed the timing.
The overwhelming majority of Americans say we need help with our health care, and they're busy spending $20 billion because Trump seems to really like the leader of Argentina.
In the past week, many federal workers received their final paychecks. Air traffic controllers were among those who received a portion of what they are owed. They won't be paid again until the shutdown ends.
Thank you very much.
Many fanned out at airports across the country, urging lawmakers to open the government.
Most controllers around the country are already working 6-day work weeks, 10-hour days. They shouldn't have the extra burden of worrying about when they're going to get paid.
Members of the military will get their paychecks due today after the administration rearranged Pentagon funds at the president's direction.
You got it?
But how long those funds will last is a concern for social worker and military spouse Crystal Bettenhausen-Babulka, whose husband has been serving in the Navy for the past 31 years.
For me, it's more so looking at the mental health side of everything. How much do we need to push before we have military families that just can't take anymore?
Do you feel like this is putting your life on hold?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. It's a holding pattern.
Lawmakers here will continue to get paid as is required by law, but the police officers who protect this Capitol have missed their first full paychecks, and the union that represents them is urging lawmakers to start talking and negotiate. Caitlin Huey Burns, CBS News, Washington.
Yeah, that's fun. We have people not getting paid. Entire chamber of Article 1 of our branch. Article 1 of our Constitution sets forth the two branches of the House and the Senate. And one of those two is just not there. Not there. Not doing anything. Good stuff. All right, on that note, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about some slippery sidewalks, artificial intelligence, and, Florida man. Stick around. Welcome back to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. Off to Volusia County, where one neighborhood's been dealing with some sidewalk issues, slippery sidewalks, drainage issues, all kinds of things. And they finally have a fix now in place. It's going to be costly. And as Angie Casada explains, while it does need to get done, there's questions about how much it's going to cost and who's ultimately going to pay. Take a look.
Yeah, people living here tell me that the streets are actually safer than these sidewalks. Matter of fact, there's been close to 50 reports of falls in the last 3 years. But I want you to take a look at this. It's almost standing water as well as a form of slime that just goes all throughout the sidewalks throughout this community. And this is the safety concern for residents here. The city admits that the problem is costly to fix, but tonight's meeting could determine how much of that burden falls on taxpayers. It's a neighborhood that looks picture perfect. But when you stop on Mosaic Boulevard and try to walk on the sidewalks... Be careful, Sam. Residents say it's become a nightmare. From these sidewalks?
From these sidewalks. One person broke her tailbone and still is getting treatment. Another person, his babysitter fell, and we have to walk in the street. So we... take the risks of walking in the streets versus the sidewalks because the sidewalks are more dangerous.
The situation was brought up to the city commission in July. Now, the city and developer are now working on an agreement to fix the drainage issues and replace damaged sections.
You can see the buildup of the algae and stuff and what it looks like. And the concern is we've got Halloween coming up, and we're going to have little kids walking in the area that aren't familiar with this neighborhood. It's a hazard.
Under the proposed agreement, both the city of Daytona Beach and the developer would share costs for sidewalk modifications and drainage repairs. But residents say they want a clear timeline and accountability, not more delay. News 6 reached out to the city of Daytona Beach for comment, but so far we have not heard back. Homeowners here say that they hope if this agreement can be reached soon, work could start within the next few weeks. Tonight's meeting starts at 6 o'clock. Reporting in Daytona Beach, I'm your Volusia County community correspondent, Angie Casada, News 6.
So from slippery sidewalks to artificial intelligence, it's no secret that AI has made certain things a lot easier, writing being one of them, coding if that's something you like to do. A lot of code can be written by AI, and job applications. Oh boy. Job applications is another one where it has started to infiltrate not only job seekers using artificial intelligence, but also people that are hiring will have AI just run through all the candidates and filter out some. So we're turning over a lot of the things that used to be done by humans to machines. And now we're starting to see a little bit of pushback against that, as Michael George reports.
Well, I think employers are worried about overuse of AI.
Daniel Zhao, chief economist at the job search site Glassdoor, said when he was recently hiring interns, about half the candidates had clearly used AI to write their resumes, cover letters, and responses.
It can be very hard to pick and choose between two candidates who are both using the same process.
Employers surveyed by the career resource site CV Genius identified AI-generated content as the biggest red flag when hiring someone. 74% of employers said they can spot an AI-generated job application, and more than half said they're significantly less likely to hire a candidate who relies on AI.
I think this is a huge problem that a lot of job seekers don't think about. If everybody is using AI to edit their resume, edit their cover letter, then how do you actually stand out?
Zhao says AI has moved some companies to place more value on the human touch.
When employers see that something is written by that candidate and they know that it hasn't been written AI, they have more confidence that that's based on that candidate's skills and experiences.
Doris Biggs is currently employed at an office in New York. She says she's not against using AI, just not for landing a job.
I am the personal touch kind of person. It shows your authentic self. I mean, then the person really knows.
Zhao says you don't have to abandon AI entirely. There can still be a place for it in the job search.
Using AI for proofreading, that's totally fine, especially if it's your resume or your cover letter. When you start to get into things that are supposed to be in your own words, that's where it's riskier to use AI.
More employers looking for less artificial intelligence and more human intelligence in their next hire. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Well, from artificial intelligence to Florida man intelligence, 40 years of a book in his possession, and he decides, you know what, it's time to return that. A little bit overdue, but we'll get it done. Reporter Carmela Ketcher reports on how the book reunited a student and a former teacher.
When retired Lodi teacher Rod Wozniak picked up his mail, he received a package he wasn't expecting.
I saw my name, so I knew it was to me, but I saw the return address, and it said the last name was Gentner, and I knew my wife is related to the Gantners, so I handed it to her, and I said, well, let me see it again.
That's when he took a closer look at the sender's name.
And I saw the name Brenton Gentner, which kind of hit me, but I wasn't quite sure, so I opened it, and that's when I was surprised to see a book that he had basically borrowed 40 years ago.
Inside was a geometry book he used to hand out to his students, along with a handwritten note.
The note said, Rod, I found this book which belongs to you. Thank you for letting me borrow it for the last 40 years. Sincerely, Brent Gentner. I was more shocked when I read the note saying I'd had it for 40 years, because you don't realize how long the time has gone since you had contact with that person.
So why did Brent still have this book, and why did he send it back after all these years? I asked him.
You know, I was kind of a nerd back then. I was interested in math and science and that kind of stuff, and so he had books that students could check out. Eventually, I moved out to Florida and I moved all my stuff here, and it was still in boxes.
Brent eventually went through the boxes and found this book with Rod Wozniak's name printed on the front page.
I was like, I wonder if I mail it to him, what would happen? I just thought it'd be kind of funny. Like 40 years later.
And even after all this time, Brent still thinks of Rod as one of his favorite teachers.
He cared about his students. He felt like he really knew what was going on with his students and if they were having a bad day or a good day or whatever. So he was great. And he was definitely one of my favorite teachers.
A little book helping to bring student and teacher back together.
It kind of makes you appreciate that a lot of things that you've done with kids in class. Most of it is memories, but there might be something that they have kept over the years.
Good thing it wasn't a library book. That could get costly, Kathleen. Seinfeld
yes.
episode. Do you remember that Seinfeld episode? Jerry's got the Tropic of Cancer, I think is the book he's got, and then the library detective shows up and grills him about his not returning the book.
The library detective.
It's a great episode. The guy who plays the library detective plays it so straight. He plays it straight out of the 1960s, 70s cop. He's like, you know, you took that book. It's not what you're supposed to have. People like you are what ruin libraries. The very fast talking, just kind of
Right.
And it's just such a good scene. That's all I could think of when I saw this in the copy today. Is man, I hope the library detective makes an appearance.
Right, but it was sweet. He returned it. It was 40 years, late, but he did return it. You ever kept something for decades, didn't return it?
Probably. No, not that I can think of, but you never know.
Right.
But good of him to get it back. And you know what? I think it's more to the point of what it means for a teacher to actually connect with the student and the student to value that relationship. And I think, you don't always realize it in the time that you're growing up, or even if you go into teaching after you become an adult, the different lives you touch along the way, and the people who take away something valuable from what you do. And I think that's the real nice thing there. I mean, the book's inconsequential. It's the fact that it still meant something that he had this connection after 40 years. And
after all those times,
that's nice.
We all have a teacher we remember that was special to us, so it's nice that he got to reconnect.
Yeah. How about you? Any items that are rattling around the old homestead that probably need to go back to their rightful owner?
I don't think so, but maybe there's some boxes I still have that I haven't looked in a while, and I may stumble upon something, but not that I know of. I'll say that.
We opened up this with talking about moving, and I always find when you have to move is when you realize all the crap you own, that you're like,
yes.
What's the most disheartening is when you open up something in a box and it's still has the tag on it from when you bought it, and you remember buying it, and you're like, Oh God, I did. I bought these shorts. I thought they were so cool, and I've never worn them, and now I never will.
Right, right, right. That's when you know how much stuff you have, is when you go to move. That's why I have not moved in a really long time, because I just don't want to deal with it.
So if you don't look at it, it doesn't exist. All right, Kathleen, thank you so much for this great show as always. Thank you to David for the weather, and of course, thank you for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow at 12:30 to do this all over again. Of course, we break news all the time on clickorlando.com, and then we'll be on the air at 4 o'clock today with News 6. We'll have the latest on these school bomb threats, as well as some other things going on across the greater Central Florida region. Anyway, thank you again for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Bye.